Hello everyone and welcome to Coding for Beginners. I'm Umar and I'm here to join you on your journey to becoming a programmer. It's not really all that hard to program. It's just hard sometimes to know where to begin if you've never done it before, because there's so many programming languages out there, Java and Python and C#, just to name a few, and there's so many places where programs exist where you can run them on the desktop, on mobile devices, and as web pages and web applications. So in this video series, we're going to break through all that and help you get started very simply on learning how to program anything. And I mean that, anything at all, from the fundamentals on forward. We're going to start with basic applications that run on your computer screen that just print something to the screen, and then we'll march forward and start programming things that you might see on a web page or a mobile application. We will go at a slow pace so that it's easier to understand in slow chunks. All you need is a computer and an internet connection. An important point to make right now is that we're going to start with the Java programming language, although it doesn't really matter which language you start with. We could start with Python or C. I figured Java's as good as any place to start because it's freely downloadable just like the others. And it does have a number of features that exist in a lot of other programming languages. And so we can talk about all of them sort of by just talking about how that works in Java. So why don't we go ahead and get started and build our very first program in this in what will follow, and I'll see you afterward. Okay, so now let's go through the process of installing Java on a Mac. What you're going to do is open up a browser, and from there you're going to type in Oracle Java. And click on this downloads link here, and that should take you to the Oracle downloads page as you see on my screen. It should show you the latest Java version available. As of this video, Java 17 is the latest, and you'll click on your operating system, in my case Mac OS. If you've got the M1 Apple Silicon chip Mac, one of the newer ones, you'll click on the ARM64 DMG installer link here. And if you have one of the older Intel-based Mac, you'll click on the x64 DMG installer here, the second link. I have the new M1 Mac, so I'm going to click on this link, and that should download something to your downloads folder, the JDK17 file, or to wherever you designate. Mine goes right to the downloads, and so if I go to downloads, what I would do is double-click that file. Looks like I had already downloaded it earlier, but I'll delete the old one, the other one. So once you double-click the JDK17 file, this package.pkg file will show up. You'll double-click it, and then that will run you through an automatic installer. It should be pretty straightforward. So I'm not going to go through it simply because I've already installed it. But if you have any issues or you run into any problems with that, just put them in the comments section. So to verify that it's installed correctly, that Java is installed correctly, you'll go to Applications, and from there you'll go to the Utilities folder and open up this program called Terminal, which you'll become very familiar with as we go through this series of videos. But right here, what you're going to do is type Java space dash version and hit enter. And what you'll see is a Java version. The version that's loaded, in this case Java 17 is loaded, as you can see here. If it didn't load properly, if it didn't install correctly, what you'll see is something like Java is not a recognized command, something like that. If you're running into those sorts of problems, just put them in the comments section and then I should be able to help you. That's it for installing. Let's move on. On Windows, it's essentially the same. You'll go to the Oracle website and click on the Windows installer for x64. When that downloads, you'll double-click it, and the wizard will walk you through the installation, and when it completes, when you go to the terminal on Windows, the command prompt, which you can get to by typing by holding down the Windows button, hitting the letter R, and in the box that comes up, you type in CMD, CM as in Mike, and then D, and that'll open up the command prompt, and from there you would type in java space dash version to show which version is loaded. Alright, so let's go ahead and write our first program. Now on a Mac, all you really need to do that is Textedit, which comes free with a Mac. On a Windows machine, you would want to use Notepad. And with software that simple, you can write your first program and execute it. Let me show you how. So on a Mac, you would go to Textedit. You can find it in your Applications folder. And you're going to click on New Document. It'll bring up this window, and now what I'm going to do is start typing into it. And I think it's best if you just follow along for this first program. We will, of course, break this program down soon, if not in this video, then in the next video, where we'll discuss why I wrote what I did and how the program works the way it does, and then we'll build on that. But for now, just follow along. What I want you to type is public, and if Textedit tries to capitalize the P, you know, just sort of undo that because we want it lowercase. Class, hello with a capital H, and I'm going to put in a couple of curly braces, and we'll see why we do that in later videos. But after that, I'm going to type in public static void main and open up parenthesis and type quotation mark, or excuse me, type the string with a capital S, opening square bracket, close square bracket, and then type in args, close parenthesis, open up a curly brace, and add another closing curly brace, and in between here, I'm going to write something that will print some text to the console, otherwise known as the terminal. And so I'm going to write system with a capital S dot out dot println. That's like a print line. And in quotation marks, I'm going to write what I wanted to print. And in this case, I'm going to write hello, comma, world. And after that, I'm going to put in a semicolon. A close parenthesis and a semicolon. And that's it. That's our first program. It may even be obvious to you what this does. It prints the words hello world, and that's it. As I said before, we will look at why we use the words public and class, why do we use these curly braces and the square brackets here, and where does this system out println come from, why the parentheses. All of that we'll cover later, but for now, let's just get this running and see if it works on our computers. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it as hello.java, and this is important. The file needs to have the same name. The file has to have the same name as the public class name, in this case hello with a capital H, and I'm saving it to the desktop, clicking save. And I'm going to close Textedit. Now if you look in the top right of my screen here, I have a file now called hello.java with a capital H, the one we just created. So what we're going to do now is execute this file. In order to do that, I'm going to go to Finder, and I'm going to go to Applications, and go to Utilities, and open up this thing called Terminal. On a Windows, it's similar. It's also a terminal of sorts, but it's called a command prompt in Windows, and we'll get to that in a moment. But in a Mac, you'll open up Terminal. You'll navigate by going Change Directory, CD, to your desktop. And once there, you're going to type this in, Java C, and then the name of the file. The whole file with its extension. Hit Enter. And if it worked, you'll just get a new prompt. And in addition, if you look on the desktop now, I have this file called hello.class. What Java C did was translate the program we wrote into machine language. And that machine language code is this file with the .class extension. Now what I'm going to do is run that .class file. And the way I do that in Java is back in the terminal, I'm going to write Java and the name of the file without the extension. And there we have it. As you can see on the screen, it printed hello world, just as we typed it in. And this is a point to pause, because if this is your first program, congratulations. You wrote your very first computer program. You instructed the computer to do something and it did it. This is what we're going to build on. This may seem very simple, but we're going to very quickly be able to write very much more interesting programs, more useful programs, and I can't wait to see what you build next. And I'm sure you're going to be surprised yourself about what you're able to accomplish in a very short amount of time. Don't worry, we're going to go through this one step at a time. We're going to build small programs and then medium-sized programs and then eventually impressive large programs that run in a browser, like a web page that's interactive. We'll get there. And once again, congratulations. Let's end it here and see where we go next. Okay, so how was that? You wrote your very first program. You should be very proud of yourself. You instructed a computer to do something and it did it. I mean, just take a step back and take a moment and think about that. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to build on that very same program you just wrote. So go ahead and make sure you still have it, save it, to your desktop or some folder on your computer, because we're going to access it again in the next video, where we'll dive into what does all that mean. We wrote a program, it kind of sort of makes sense, but what do the words public and class mean? What does main even mean in that program? We're going to talk about that and maybe extend the program a little bit to see how we can make it a little more robust or maintainable. So I hope you join me in the next video so we can look at how we can push this forward. If you have any suggestions or comments, leave them in the comments section, questions as well. If you're having technical difficulties, let me know, and I'll try to help you out there in the comments section. And in the meantime, if you want to know when new videos are posted, as soon as they're posted, hit the subscribe button, and then you'll be notified as soon as they come out. I hope you join me next time and enjoy your coding journey. Thank you for letting me into it, and I'll see you next time.